you really think this would work?
Sirus, please, we want to help you. Don't do anything hasty.
How boring and small. Take it.
Hi, this is Big here, and this is the completion of the build I plan to make, which is Bama. So figured I make this entire league a minion league for me, and so I started the league with SRS Guardian, and I did a SRS minion stability Guardian, which could do Ubers, but wasn't as comfortable as what you see right here. This build has more damage than the Guardian. It has way more burst, and it also has way faster map clearing speed, but at the downside of it being a lot less tanky than the Guardian did have about 600k EHP. This one has closer to about 120, which isn't that much, but to be honest, when you think about it, the Guardian also doesn't have very good dot protection, while this one has a lot better dot protection, so I find it to be pretty much around the same. This also has the flexibility of not actually staying in one place. You're a minion build that can move around a lot, and there are a lot of mechanisms that actually prevent you from taking damage, like taunts on totems, as well as evade as well. So let me just briefly go through the build after I do a map, because I figured that without a mapping showcase, it is extremely difficult to tell if this is a decent build, not just for bossing but also for maps. So in the mapping scenario, usually I don't, well actually it doesn't really matter, but I swap out Focus Ballista for something like Hypothermia, just because then I don't have to rely on my attacks too much to be able to summon clones of my totems. Focus Ballista is much better on boss type encounters because you're going to be preloading the boss with minions. Okay, let me pick a map that is relatively okay. Let me. Is that a T60? Do I not have a T60? Okay, I do have a T60. Okay, I haven't witnessed this yet. Okay. Wait, hold up. I have a Twisted available. Let's do this one. In this case,
entertain me.
I have nothing more.
Temporal tears. Time to up the step. Resist the assault. Another challenger? Shadow. Such wildly alive inspiration. Another round will commence as soon as I have more combatants.
alright. Let's do the map. Was this one right? Yes, it was this one. For boss rushing, I usually don't do the juicing encounter. I don't juice maps with wisps, mainly because it doesn't really matter too much. You're just going to run straight to the boss. So I'm going to show you that without the juicing, but I also can do juice maps. I'm just not doing it at the moment. Okay. I don't mind popping Delirium though, because it's beneficial to do it on the way there. Dear God, the lag.
I do so and flash. Time to up the stakes.
Welcome. Time has no meaning here. Your pain will
Make this worth my time. Struggle or strangle.
not have but a moment's respite. I thought myself
That is an
better
example of a map
but you and
done quickly. Where is that? Oh. Okay. Just like that, 30 simulacrum. You don't really actually have to do anything other than just run through the map. You notice what I did was just blink through and dash, and you would clear the map. Why? Because blink arrow is not just a mobility skill, it's also your damage, it's your clear skill. So let's briefly talk about the mechanics of the build, what scales the damage, and what gives this pretty decent leg up on most other minion builds. So let's talk about, first and foremost, what are the changes in this current patch that allow this build to kind of flourish and make it. So first and foremost, we have this new gem, jewel called the Adorned. So Adorned, I bought this pretty cheap, but it doesn't really matter. I said so much. I think so much for this build. You can get 120%. You will see maybe a 10% loss of DPS to what I have here, but a 10% loss of DPS from here, it's like kind of like it's still good. The build's still going to be good, so it's not an issue. So to be frank, you don't really need 149. You don't need a high rolled one because you don't have breakpoints on the jewels that you're gonna use. And the reason why you don't have jewels, breakpoints, is because a lot of the jewels you're going to use are going to have a pretty larger, a larger number associated with them. For example, like 26 to 39 or 20%. You're not going to need the breakpoints as much, so you don't need to have perfect ones like 150% or 143%. So getting 120, 110 is enough, right? So the reason why this build, this jewel enables a lot of things is because previously in the past with Doomfletch, you couldn't really scale a lot of flat on minions, right? In fact, you would probably see about 2.5 times or 2 times less flat than you see in this build here. And the reason being for that is, so Doomfletch Bama in the past was decent but not amazing. And it was not amazing because although you could scale a certain amount of flat of Abyss Jewels on the tree itself, you can only get at most, think about 30 average physical damage per jewel, which meant that with about 10 jewels, it's just 300 added flat, which isn't very much, right? But with the Adorned, 300 flat can almost equate to about 750 average flat damage. And 750 average flat damage is pretty impressive for Doomfletch, mainly because Doomfletch takes that flat physical and multiplies it by 4. How does it multiply by 4? You get 100% of weapon physical damage as extra damage of each element, so that is fire, cold, and lightning. You also retain your 100% of physical. So in this case here, with that 750 flat, you're multiplying it by a factor of 4. So 750 flat with a attack speed of 1.64 multiplied by a factor of 4, you're gonna look at a DPS weapon of about, like, let me calculate it out for you because I'm too lazy to do the math right now. 750 times 1.65 times 4 is about a 4,950 DPS weapon. I would assume that that's how it's calculated, but I could be wrong. So essentially, you're giving all your minions 5,000, close to 5,000 LEDPS weapon. I mean, not really LEDPS, more like 3,000 LEDPS, 1,000 phys, I think. And with that kind of bow, you will outshine any crafted bow, because any crafted bow will go up to at most 1.6 LEDPS, and you'll be paying like, I don't know, close to a mirror foot, or maybe like couple 100 divines. This is going to be like 3 divines for 6 link if you're not going to double corrupt it. And then the Dawn is going to cost you like maybe at most 10 divines if you go for a lower rolled one. And then all the jewels, you can just craft them yourself because they're all magics, right? They're not rares. So you just craft a lot of magic rolls and then you just corrupt them yourself. And what I did was I not only made these jewels, I actually sold off a lot of my older ones, and they sold off for a pretty sizable amount because people are too lazy to craft them. Yeah. So with that damage scaling on your Bama, you're going to do pretty significant amounts of damage. And then how else do you want to scale the build? Let me explain. So I watch a lot of Bama videos. I kind of like went through all of Prevy's build videos. But I noticed that a lot of the videos that he did in the past is heavily reliant on alternate quality Bama jewels. And without alternate quality Bama jewels, you don't really have the ability to front load on the boss. So in the past, you would actually like summon maybe 20 total summons, and those 20 total summons would burst the boss down, obviously, because pretty high amounts of damage if you preload the boss with like 20 minions. In this case here, I'm doing what MP did about 2 weeks ago. So MP did one of those like I won't say challenges, but he did a thing where he tried to see how many clones he could summon, and he summoned up to 1,000 clones. And how he did it was through ballistas. So the thing with ballistas is that ballistas actually have their own individual cooldowns for mirror arrow or blink arrow. In this case here, it's mirror arrow for me. The cooldown time is 0.59, and every single totem has its own individual cooldown timer. So if you were to actually cast this yourself, you'll be only be able to cast this every like 1.8 times a second or something like that. But if you have like 5 totems up, you can cast it 1.8 times a second multiplied by 5, because you have 5 totems or 6 totems, and then you multiply it by your ability to summon a clone. So with that, it is quite possible to summon a lot of clones or preload the boss with a lot of clones with a ballista setup, but you will have to put ballista totem as well as multiple totem support for totem count. And then if you want to preload the boss, you need focus ballista, because you don't have to have a target in order to summon the minions. So I'll give an example of what it looks like.
Can I not have but a moment's respite? I have nothing more to give.
Oh wait, mana. Okay. You notice the count on the top left hand side? I'm preloading up to a maximum of 40. Right, that's quite possible. You can preload to a maximum of 40 on the boss, right? But you need about maybe 8 seconds of lead time to do that. And 40 clones altogether, with, even though there is not a lot of damage links here, you notice that this is like literally 3 ballista related links, and only the 3 remaining are actually damaged. So that is vicious projectiles, or rather 2 it's damage, vicious projectiles and minion damage. You still do enough damage to like literally one-shot bosses, because, well, not really one-shot, but enough DPS to like phase them instantly or kill them after a single attack, like Uber Sirius just now. And in this case here, my bow here does have momentum support, and momentum does buff your clones, because your clones do get momentum stacks. So technically this is a 3 damage link, although momentum is a pretty weak damage link. But yeah, by preloading like 30 or 40 minions on a boss, imagine each minion does about like maybe 600 to 700k DPS. You multiply that by 40, it's enough DPS to like kill stuff instantly. So yeah, this tech is something that I've not seen in any other Balma build. Most people are still doing self-cast. I do think that you will need a ballista setup for bosses, or for like maybe essences or some mad bosses, if you find that like clearing it slow with like blink arrow bombarding clones. So yeah, definitely you will need a setup like this for bossing damage. Okay, for clear, in the past, blink arrow mirror arrow had pretty bad clear as well. You got around it, I think, from what I see in Prevy's videos, you go around it with chains, either in the quiver or fork. I don't know, I can't remember if he had fork, but I think fork or chain is the way to solve your clear problems. You don't actually have to do that anymore, mainly because you have the ability to have 2 different kinds of summons. So in this case here, the ballista one is going to be the standard mirror arrow, and the reason why you want a standard mirror arrow is because the standard mirror arrow has no limit count, right? As you can see, I can summon 40 of them, right, without any issues. So there is no limit count on the mirror arrow here, but when it comes to the blink arrow of bombarding clones, there is a limit count of 3. So no matter how many different bombarding clones versions you have, you could either have mirror arrow bombarding clones or blink arrow bombarding clones. They will both only allow you to have 3 different clones, or three individual clones. You cannot go more than that count of 3. And so blink arrow or bombarding clones is not necessarily a bossing skill. You definitely can scale the damage, I feel, to maybe about 6-7 mil. But even if you scale the 6-7 mil on pinnacles, it's still pretty low, because it's 20 mil max, and that's like less than 10 on Ubers. So blink arrow definitely can be scaled to do bossing, but I do feel that it is much better as just a clear skill. It makes up for the fact that blink arrow mirror had really bad clear to begin with. So with blink arrow bombarding clones, your clear is significantly improved. You do want to run this on a separate link setup for your damage. So think about it as like how a normal bow build will play. Normal bow builds have 1 ballista setup and 1 setup where you just attack, and the one that you just attack is more for clear, and the ballista setup is for bosses. It's a very similar vein of thinking, right? And blink arrow bombarding clones, the clear is exceptionally good for the reason that it is not only just your mobility skill, it's also your clear skill. So as you notice, I ran through the entire map just now, just pressing blink arrow. Of course, the clear is not so clean, like you still have stragglers, but if you want to stay in like, let's just go through the map. So like, I mean, the clear is not so clean because I ran in a straight line and there was quite a bit of density, but If you're just like going quickly from a boss to a boss, it doesn't really matter. Also, you notice I'm not really picking up anything behind me because it doesn't really matter so much. But if I did want to clear this, I would actually spend more time standing around this. Oh, well, actually some of them are still being summoned, so it's not the clear that's bad. Anyway, yeah, so this is generally how it will work. You would just blink, arrow, flame dash across the map. And then, you know, burst the boss down with the totem. Okay, so what are the things that you need to scale in this build that are kind of crucial? So not only do you need two separate setups for a 6-link, one is for blink arrow and one is for mirror arrow, one is totem and one is self cast or self attack. What you need as well is you need to stack as much cooldown recovery for travel skills as much as possible. So mirror arrow here and both blink arrow and mirror both scale with quality. And therefore the only thing that can scale quality other than a gem link is going to be your Ashes of the Stars. So an Ashes of the Stars is kind of needed. You don't really need a perfect one per se because it doesn't really matter. You can go 29%, 27%. It's going to be considerably cheaper and you won't see much difference in quality of life. But in this case here, I can't afford it, so I've gone for 30%. But if you want to build this build, you don't have to. You just put 24, 25, 26% and you should be fine. The other way of getting cooldown recovery for travel skills is going to also be your boots. So in this case, the Stampede is probably the ideal option here. It's also relatively cheap. You can get this for 1 divine. You don't have to get 80%, you can get 70%. As I said, you don't need perfect rolls. But what's great about this is that you can anoint it. So you can anoint it with Fleet Foot. The Fleet Foot gives you 30% increased cooldown recovery rate for movement skills. So that's a more cooldown recovery rate. And then finally, you get the cooldown recovery rate of your passive tree. So blink arrow mirror have a 100% increased cooldown recovery rate. So with all these cooldown recovery rates stacking, what you have here is that blink arrow has a 0.66 second cooldown time with a 0.28 attack, which means every 0.66 seconds you should be able to just blink, right? Because your attack time is so fast. And also when it comes to the mirror arrow, it has a 0.59 cooldown time and a 0.38 attack time on your ballistas. What that also means is that your ballistas are going to be summoning, always going to be summoning at a 0.59 mark or close to it, right? So every like close to half a second, you're summoning 1 extra clone over the course of the totem's duration. And each clone lasts about, if you can see here, the clones lasts about 6.43 seconds. Yeah. So I think in order of priority, damage is scaled by your Doomfletch with as much Abyss Jewel sockets as you can possibly stack on with T1 phys rolls as well as percentage increased damage rolls. Secondly, through the gem setup, so the Ballista Totem setup for the single target and the Blink Arrow setup for clear. And then finally cooldown recovery rate, which is something you stack on your Ashes, your Stampede and your passive tree. Alright, let's talk about the Ascendancy. The Ascendancy of choice here has been Ascendant. I did look at Necro and I did look at Champion, and I also did look at Guardian, and I felt that if you're going to stack Abyss Jewels, you generally want a Ascendancy that has access to a lot of them, a lot of sockets, and Ascendant seemed to be the best bet because Ascendant not only has 128 total passive points at level 100 because of the because of its Ascendancy, but also because Ascendant is clustered around Ascendant builds generally start around the middle, and the middle has the most like concentration of sockets, right? So you can get quite a bit of sockets here. If you notice, I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So 11 total sockets on my passive tree, and then 1 more socket on my gear on my belt. So that's a lot of jewel sockets where you can stack on flat damage. Yeah. Oh yeah, for cooldown recovery, you also have this, the Watcher's Eye. So cooldown recovery rate of movement skills used while affected by haste is also one of them. And yeah. Okay, let's talk about defenses. When it comes to defenses, you generally are going to be starved for defenses. I think defenses are the things you want to tackle the last. You want to get damage up first, and once you have damage and clear, you can start scaling defenses. So and when I first started this build out, I had 0 spell suppression because I didn't have the points for it, but over time I was able to get better gear and was able to then stack suppression on tree as well. So the suppression nodes you go for are Mage Bane, the 3 suppression nodes here, the spell suppression wheel here, and the rest is coming from your gear. So your glove is going to give you quite a bit of suppression, and then you have 1 charm that gives you suppression. That's all you need. You're going to go for Grace Aura on yourself. So I have Grace here on myself. I'm getting Determination Aura from the turtle. So the turtle is giving me a pretty sizable amount of armor as well. So when I have Flask up, armor is at about 20k, which is like decent. It's not amazing, but it's decent, which helps me with the 4th Vial, and then I have Chaos, Max Chaos Res as well. So 4th Vial is extremely good for bow builds. If you notice, like for a lot of bow builds that are not like Dead Eyes or something, you see them use 4th Vial a lot, because 4th Vial allows you to scale defenses without having to like rely too much on a shield. Yeah. I have max fire res, core res, and lightning res of 81%, mostly because I do have a purity of ice skill here, but I also have spectres that give purity of fire and lightning. You can definitely run a 4 spectre setup where you have all the 3 purities as well as the turtle, but in this case I didn't have to go for like 4 spectres because I had purity of ice here. Okay, let's just path through like the tree and show you how like what are the step priorities here. You path through the middle here. Generally you want to go through the left side first. So all the sockets, life nodes. This gives me reservation because of the mana mastery, but these are being transformed into other nodes by the Zabakwas. So this Zabakwa gives res here. Path here. You want Divine Flesh because that works with 4 Vial. Path here, you get double hierarchy nodes. This is really nice. Path up here, you get the life nodes and the cost reduction. That's helpful because Blink Arrow at such a high link count is going to cost quite a bit. So it's almost 108 mana, 80 mana and 108 mana, quite a bit. Path down here, you get your first cluster, large cluster. And then you get a medium cluster as well. The large cluster for me has been optimized, so this is 35% increased effect with attack speed cluster, but you can definitely go for 3 notable cluster. It's not a problem. You path here, you get these medium clusters. Medium clusters give you Life from Death and Blessed Rebirth. Blessed Rebirth is to make sure your Bama clones stay alive for at least 4 seconds. Life from Death is to ensure that your specters and your AG don't die, because your Bamas, as the Bamas expire, you will start to heal your specters and AG. You have 2 additional sockets here, obviously to get more flat. Path here, you get the life nodes, you get the flat here as well. Okay, I would get these 3 as well, so I would unspec out of damage and go for these 3 if I wanted to just focus on a mapping setup entirely. It's just more tanky. But if I'm doing like Uber bosses, I just generally want more damage, so I'll go for additional socket here. Up here, you go for attack speed and minion damage, as well as minions penetrate 8% of cursed enemies' elemental resistances. That is also really good. Up here, you get the reservation wheel. Up here, Ancestral Bond. Ancestral Bond gives you 1 maximum number of summon totems, as well as you can't damage with skills yourself. Okay, you can't damage with skills yourself, really good. Why? Because it helps you deal with reflect maps. You don't care about reflect anymore, so this is great for that reason. And yeah, extra totem count always helps because you are scaling damage from totems on Mirror Arrow. Path here for life, and you go here for Spiritual Command. You really want Spiritual Command because Spiritual Command gives you a pretty decent amount of attack speed. I'll show you exactly what my attack speed looks like without it. So this is 0.28 attack time. If I unspec it, it's 0.46. So this makes it a lot smoother to play, so therefore I'll go for it. Yeah, and then you path here, you get the duration nodes. These duration nodes are for not only your buffs, but also for your duration of your clones. Down here, Mage Bane, you want to go here for Flask, right? Because you're going to be focusing on instant Flask. So I have an instant Flask here, so Seething Divine Flask. Seething Divine Flask with the increase of life recovery for Flask is going to give you a pretty decent amount of heal. And because I have a replica Sword of the Divine, it's going to refill my mana every time I hit a life flask, which is very often because my life flask refills super fast. Path here, get sockets. Yeah, sockets are really good. Up here for suppression. Down here, get another socket. Path here, get life and evasion. Down here, you get the Hunter's Gambit wheel. You're doing this for Blink Arrow. Mirror Arrow has 100% increased cooldown recovery rate. I find this better than the wheel over here because although this gives you evasion, this gives you duration. So skill effect duration is something that you want to scale, so it makes sense to go for here. Also because there are a lot of other nodes here that I would consider more valuable than pathing down here. So some of the nodes that are considered valuable are the flask nodes, because this gives me about a 80%, 100. I think it's 100%, near 100% on Taste of Hate, about 80%, 90% on Sorrow of the Divine, and like 80% for the rest. I would like to improve my flasks, but for now this will suffice. Path here, get the sockets for another cluster is the same, almost the same cluster as the other one. I use this to make up for stats, so in this case will be intelligence. So path up here, you get the last suppression nodes. This is I think one of the best suppression cluster notables or wheels, because it gives you quite a bit amount of suppression. This gives you like 40 something %, and then it prevents 3% of suppressed spell damage. Path here, you get your last socket, which is 3 additional points. Let's talk about the Ascendancy. Oh yeah, the Ascendancy. Ascendancy is going for Occultist. So Occultist is because you can never get stunned. When you have Eldritch Battery up from your flask, you're never going to be at 0 ES. And because you're never going to be at 0 ES, you're never going to be stunned. Right? And also because you have Life Flask constantly recharging your ES, yeah, you're really never going to be stunned. The regenerate of energy shield per second helps to deal with the cost as well, because even if I'm not pressing Life Flask, I can sustain my ES pretty well. Yeah, so this helps. Additional curse is great because there are a lot of curses that benefit your clones. You can go Elemental Weakness, you can go Punishment, you can also go Sniper's Mark. In this case, I've got Sniper's Mark and Elemental Weakness. Increased effect curses is great as well. Also, yeah, the additional intelligence is going to help because you're not really pathing up here. Okay, Pathfinder, I find it to be extremely helpful, this build. I think Pathfinder is like ideal here. I wouldn't go for Deadeye, even though Deadeye does give your minions Tailwind, and Tailwind is more damage. This is just generally more reliable because gain 3 flasks every 3 seconds, 25% chance for flasks used to not consume charges. That is like 25% increased flasks, right? And then movement speed is, I mean, it doesn't really affect you because you have Stampede. Attack speed helps a bit, and remove bleeding is nice and great as well. Actually, I don't even know if I need this. If I find a Corrupted Blood Jewel, I can just kind of remove this entirely. Anyway, yeah, Pathfinder here, and then you get the extra points even though you don't like start from Pathfinder. So Pathfinder flasking is extremely important because you not only sustain like Granite Flask consistently, you also sustain Taste of Hate, as well as your Replica Sword of the Divine, which sustains your ability to cast Blink Arrow Mirror in maps. Okay, let's talk about the rest of the gear pieces and the rest of the jewel sockets, the gem sockets. For the bow, okay, bow is self-explanatory. Momentum does help, so if you get a momentum link, that's great. But crit strike chance is good. Attack speed on Impulse is good as well. You can just use a generic one without the double corruptions because it should work fine as well. But yeah. Helm is something that's a bit hard to get. I bought this for 12 Divines because when early on in the league, I started watching out for these because my minion stability SRS Guardian also kind of wanted similar roles. So I saw this for like 12 Divines and I bought it. It will probably not cost you 12 Divines now, and it will cost you considerably more to craft for this. I would actually suggest going for more like a defensive helm, like with damage taken as like elemental, etc., and then going for like a 6-link for the blink arrow on the chest, right? And then moving your spectres to 4-link, and then your auras like to your helm or something. That would make the most sense to me, I would think. Yeah, I would actually consider doing that, like maybe just tweaking around with it, seeing if that might work out as well. But for now, this is what I'm going for. Yeah, this is technically an 8-link for the helm. Bama doesn't really scale off levels. It scales off your weapon damage and your links. So the more links you have, the more damage you do. So yeah. So you have concentrate effect, which affects rain or arrows. You have minion damage, which affects your Bama. You have hypothermia, because you're gonna chill. You're doing all three damage types. Then more elemental damage is going to affect the 300% more from the Doomfletch. And then yeah, I have rarity here. I'm not sure if it works. I just put it there for fun. I don't know what else to put in the suffix. Okay, so chest armor is going to be a 4th vow. I managed to get these double corruptions pretty cheap as well. I think this was 9 divines. +1 to socket of gems is extremely important because you're going to put spectres there. Spectres, why you want +1 is because you can run Empower 4. Empower 4 will become Empowered 5, which will give you 4 levels. And then you get extra 1 more level on the gem itself. So you can get Animate Guardian and raise spectres to 27. At level 27, they are reasonably tanky with minion life support. You slap on a meat shield, you don't need elemental army. And yeah, you have pretty tanky spectres and pretty tanky AG. They rarely die. I don't think they die at all, except maybe in like Ubers. You're gonna use cheese spectres anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Increased arrow effect here is just for quality of life, because I find that if I'm out of range of my spectres, I don't want the aura to drop off. So I've added AoE here. AoE also boosts the Animate Guardian, because Animate Guardian does have the explosion from Legacy of Fury, which I think will scale off aerial effect. So I've gone for this for quality of life and for clear. It's not something you have to. You can go for Elemental Army if you want, or Feeding Frenzy if you want more damage. This is a Ashes of Stars. You're anointing for Enduring Bond. So because I don't path to Enduring Bond, which is this, I've anointed for it. The reason why I don't path to Enduring Bond is that I find that there's a lot of more points wasted if I go there instead of just like anointing it outright. Even though like these life notes are nice, and because there's so much more valuable notes I could be getting in the in-between. So I figured that that's not actually ideal. Yeah, so I've anointed for Enduring Bond and on the Ashes. One ring is going to be an unset ring, and it's just going to be resistors and life. It's pretty straightforward ring, nothing else. The stock is just for like socket pressure, because you're going for like two pseudo 6 links. You're gonna run out of sockets very fast, and you are a minion build, so you want specters and AG as well. So, and then you have auras. So yeah, sockets are important. I've got Dread Banner here. Dread Banner is to reduce enemy accuracy. The quality on the Ashes Stars is also scaling the effect here, which is great. I have about 93 to 95% evasion with this Dread Banner, so it does make me quite tanky against attacks. Then this other ring is, I mean, actually I personally feel like you don't really need the elemental weakness here, but since I've gone for it already, I just left it in, because elemental weakness on curse on hit is only 15%, minus Ellie res, which is kind of meh. But still, I think it's okay, because like on Ubers, they scale reduce curse effect, so I don't think this is affected. So this is actually better on like bosses, but yeah. Purity of Ice on the implicit here helps to reduce socket pressure as well, so I don't have to run it on my gear. You're going for life, minion damage, minion attack speed, and generally res, mostly chaos res. Gloves are suppression. The projectile gems is not useful. I only have it there because I bought this. I didn't make it. When I bought this, it already had it, and it was pretty cheap. I think this was like 12 divines. I felt it was cheap. I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but and I think the implicits were already done. So yeah, you want minion damage, you want suppression, you want life and chaos res, and like Ellie res as well. How you go about crafting is pretty straightforward. If I didn't buy this, I would have bought a suppression fractured base. You're gonna spam the minion essence until you hit a chaos res. That fills your well, you can spam it until you hit so you spam the minion dash until you hit chaos res with an empty suffix. With life, if you don't hit life, you preferably hit another suffix, which is like a resistance roll. Once prefixes are empty, you can always like use Eldritch Currency to reroll for life, or you can even like lock suffixes and reforge prefix. You can't actually, right? Because of the minion damage. Yeah, I think you have to roll. Sorry, when you roll for this, you only can go for life and chaos res, which I think is hard, and then with the essence roll, and then hopefully you get an empty suffix, you annul it off if you if you do have filled suffixes, or use Eldritch Currency to annul it. Okay, belt is going to be life, resistance, increase fast charge, basically charge recovery. So charges gain, reduce charges used, increase charge flask duration, or Alchemist Genius. So this was pretty cheap as well. I think this cost me like 1 divine, and then I did a bit of crafting, like lock suffixes and reroll the prefix. I tried to get life with an empty socket, empty prefix, but I didn't. I would have slammed on Hunter Exalt, but yeah, it filled prefixes. But still, this is okay. I might think of upgrading this down the road, but for now, this will do fine. Jewel here can be rare instead of a magic like the rest of the tree, unlike the rest of the tree. So you do one physical roll here. Chance to blind hit is also extremely important because it does help your minions with accuracy when they blind the target. It also helps you with your evasion. Don't go for taunt. Minion taunt doesn't work because your minions are invulnerable for 4 seconds. They can't take damage for 4 seconds. Yeah, boots are just stampede. So in the boots, I have Molten Shell. I'm too lazy to cast Molten Shell manually, so I've cast it with Arcanist Brand, Sniper's Mark, as well as Hydro Spear. You would replace Hydro Spear with Elemental Weakness if you don't have Elemental Weakness on the ring, in the on hit. So if you don't have an on hit, Hydro Spear will work well. It does give you exposure as well for Lightning and Chaos, Lightning and Cold, which is nice. For Quiver, I don't know about this. I think Point Blank works. I would assume it works. But if it doesn't, feel free to correct me. But I think Point Blank is probably ideal here if it does work, because when you use Mirror Arrow on your ballistas are literally going to plant the minions on the face of the boss. Literally right in front of them. You saw the Sirus fight. That's how it looked like. He was just surrounded by clones because all the totems were just spamming in front of his face. Okay, the good thing about that is they're 1 invulnerable, so all the projectiles the boss is trying to shoot out is going to collide with them. And 2, they basically get free Point Blank, right? Free Point Blank is like 30% more damage, I would assume. So generally, you want to look for one that has Point Blank implicit. You want accuracy rating, life, increased damage with both skills. The rest is just nice to have. So Lightning Res here, Critical Strike Multiply here is just nice to have. Alright, let's talk about Flask. Seeding Divine Flask is going to be great for you to recover life instantly and mana and ES instantly for use of your skills. Jade Flask with evasion rating is going to help you boost your evasion. Taste of Hate for max phys hit. Replica Sword of the Divine to keep your mana up or your ES up, so you get something that you can, you have resources to cast your Mirror Arrow, Blink Arrow. And then Granite Flask with increased armor for just for defenses. Well, hope you enjoyed this build. Quite happy with how it turned out. I will probably level this to 99. I'm not sure if I want to level this to 100. It sounds like a pain in the ass. It's generally like annoying to level to 100 unless you play a lot or you do 5 ways or you do simulacrums. I might try this in simulacrums, but I don't think it's tanky enough for it. Yeah, I will probably do the rest of the challenges of this. I'm currently like 23, but you should be able to do the rest of the challenges pretty easily. I might do a 3rd build of the league. I do have some ideas. I still have a lot of currency left. Like, how much do I have? 117 divines, and I have like I've been doing a lot of invites, alright, so this won't sell at the moment because I priced it a bit high at 2.5. I assume it will go up because Progenesis is like really expensive, but yeah, once I sell this, is like another 50 divines or so. I have enough like space in me, gas in me for another build, I think. After that I would take a break. Maybe not a minion build because I've already played 2 minion builds. But hope you enjoyed this video. Hope this helps you out. If you want to run this build, there are ways to scale it cheaply. Please don't get the exact same items I did. Generally what I've done is more expensive because I'm extremely optimized. Well, see you guys. Peace. I'm out. Bye.